Hello and welcome to the TNT program. It's Thursday the 5th of September. After tomorrow, Friday, we've got our Saturday live program. That's where we spend an hour chatting about whatever's on your mind. That'll go back to the normal time between 9 and 10 a.m. unless something comes up between now and then. There's been a lot written and a lot said. Seems to still be a very popular topic in our comments section, and this relates to the Phuket court's verdict about the Swiss man Fehr and the alleged kicking in the back of a doctor. Now, we do have some enterprising journalist at Nation Thailand who either sat in on the cases or has gone through the court transcript. And they've written this story. Here's why Phuket court cleared Swiss expat of assault charges. And Phuket Provincial Court finds gross inconsistencies in doctor's account, witness testimonies and evidence presented. Now, I'm not going to go through the story now. We'll do it at the end of today's program. I know a lot of you are sort of sick to death of hearing about this, but there is still a lot of interest in the story. So we will do it at the end of today's program. Plus, I'll put a link in the description of this Nation Thailand story. Let's go to some other matters, and we'll start with flooding. In the Bangkok Post reporting Ayutthaya braces for flash floods. And the Royal Irrigation Department is warning residents in parts of Ayutthaya to brace for flash floods due to a continued surge in the Chao Phraya River. And they've been warning yesterday people living near Klong Pong Peng in Ang Thong, as well as residents along the banks of the Klong Bang Ban in Bang Ban district. And a Facebook page, Ayutthaya Station, has criticised the government's poor handling of compensation for local residents already impacted by the rising waters. Now, a spokesperson said that 3 dams up in the north still have sufficient capacity to hold more water. The water catchment areas are also being opened to divert excess water. And people living in areas affected by the swelling Chao Phraya River include Chainat, Singbri, Ang Thong, Ayutthaya, Pathum Thani and Nonthaburi, and they've been warned about the risk of flash floods. And Tropical Storm Yagi is expected to bring more rain to the north and upper northeast from September the 8th, that's 3 days from now, to the 13th, according to the Thai Meteorological Department. Let's check on that. Well, at the moment, it's a typhoon Yagi making its way from the South China Sea towards the Vietnamese coast there near the border of China. And if it keeps tracking in that direction, apart from making landfall and losing a lot of its power, it will sort of scoot quite a long way northwards from Thailand. So I'm not sure if it's going to have that much effect. But we love tracking our Southeast Asian typhoon, so we'll find out what's happening with Yagi as it gets closer. To another story, and this is reported in the Bangkok Post. An American teacher accused of molesting minor, an American man teaching English at Bangkok school, has been arrested in the Bang Kae district after he was accused of taking a minor to his condominium room to molest her. He's been named as Robert Leroy Kaler, 41, apprehended in front of a condominium building on Pet Kasam Road in Bang Kae. He's wanted on a warrant issued by the Thonburi Criminal Court on August the 30th on charges of depriving a minor below 15 from parental care for obscene purposes. And the arrest followed a complaint by the mother of a 14-year-old girl that she'd sent her daughter to a school in the Pet Kasam area on the morning of February the 16th. After school, she tried to contact her daughter for more than 2 hours, but the calls were not received. And on March the 6th, the complainant said she learnt what really happened from another teacher at the school who had been told about the incident by a girl who was a friend of her daughter. And according to this account, the American man had taken the girl to his condominium room where he reportedly fondled and hugged her. And Mr. Kaler has denied the charges. So 2 things to note there. 1, the American man has denied the charges. The investigation continues. He hasn't had his day in court. So just keep that in mind when you're commenting about that story. We move to cowsodenglish.com now. And another one of those stories that just sound alarm bells. And I've always said to people, just don't buy property in Thailand. Even if you can, don't rent. But that's just my opinion. But this story perhaps reinforces my feelings on the matter. Australians win civil case, now seek criminal charges in Phuket Condo scam. I'd be a wealthy man if I had 1,000 baht for every story I've read over the years with the words condo scam in them. And 2 Australian men filed a complaint on Tuesday at the Kamala police station in Phuket against the company owning the Peaks Residences project for fraud. And they'd paid over $5 million for a condo, but did not receive the room as per the contract. And Thailand CIB have received a complaint from Australian nationals against the Kata Beach Company. The Australians had won a civil case against the company for fraud, but hadn't received any compensation. The CIB stated if anyone has been affected and is a victim on this project, please come forward to report it. This will help expand the case for multiple victims, ensuring fair treatment for those who legally purchased real estate in Phuket and Thailand, demonstrating that individuals are protected equally by law regardless of nationality. So yeah, we'll decide that when the Australians get their money back, thank you. And an investigation by the Consumer Protection Police Division found that Kata Beach Company sold land without proper titles to many Thai and foreign buyers, but couldn't complete construction due to illegally issued building permits from the start. Well, hello, that sort of sounds familiar, doesn't it? But I love this paragraph. Under Thai law, condominium businesses must build on land with proper titles only. Wow. The company's actions were deemed a misrepresentation of facts to obtain reservation fees or contract payments worth millions of baht per case. Now, I might speak about this in greater detail on Saturday, but there are so many scams when it comes to buying property, especially condos in Thailand, not just Phuket. It doesn't take much to put a website up with some nice-looking artist's impressions of a nice, pretty-looking condo and some flowers sitting on a table in the room and expansive views, and get people putting down a deposit. And that's really what a lot of these scammers are after, just lots of these deposits, and they sort of vanish. And this hasn't happened once or twice. This has happened hundreds of times over the last decade, right around Thailand in different places. I mean, if you are going to buy a condo, that's fine, the decision is finally yours, but do your due diligence and do a lot of due diligence before signing the contract. And the Australian clients investigated and found the company had insufficient assets to repay debts, leading them to believe it was a deception to avoid responsibility. Well, the extension to this is that there are plenty of real estate companies in Thailand and property consultancy firms that enable all this to happen. And they get behind these companies and they even sort of do a story about them and saying, yeah, this is going to be a great investment. Of course, they can just walk away from the problem, or in some cases get their 10% commission for the deposits. Meanwhile, there are a lot of people down the bottom of the pyramid who get caught up in these scams. And we acknowledge the great support from 5-Star Marine, 5starmarinephuket.com and Beach House Thailand are sponsoring the program. Links in the description below if you'd like to head out onto Phang Bay. Not quite as windy today as it was yesterday. The sun's out. I wouldn't mind going out there today. Also, Beach House Thailand, some bespoke beachside properties if you'd like to, well, sort of ponder your navel whilst looking out across the Andaman Sea sometime. Right, speaking of beaches, let's head up to Pattaya. And Pattaya begins urgent beach restoration after severe storm erosion. This being reported by PattayaMail.com. And just a quicker look, every time we see photos of this beach erosion, we see these bags of sand, hundreds and thousands of these bags of sand, which are basically keeping these beaches together and trying to stop nature taking its course. The story says restoration efforts to address severe beach erosion began late on September the 2nd. Following significant storm damage, teams worked tirelessly overnight to restore Pattaya's coastline, which is a crucial asset for tourism. The local government official said, "We understand how important this beach is for both the local community and tourists. Our immediate goal is to repair the damage and prevent further erosion." So as an optic, having great beaches in Pattaya is important. I don't think Pattaya is a place that a lot of people go just to enjoy the beaches, but having them there and having good quality beaches is a part of the selling point. So restoration works include reinforcing the sand, stabilising the beach surface and implementing measures to make the shoreline more resilient to future storms. Well, it's sort of fighting a losing battle to a degree, and there's got to be plenty of money in the budget to make sure that they can keep those beaches and restore the beaches every time there's a storm to looking as good as they have in the past. All right, from that to a little bit of politics, only a little bit. And Thai PBS World are reporting PM Pattongtarn's cabinet lineup announced. Well, the bottom line on this, and there is a full list of all the cabinet members and the ministers, is there's only been 5 changes. The most prominent one being the fact that General Prawit Wongsuwon is not on the list in his Palang Pracharat party, basically being evicted from the coalition. So that's probably the most significant change, but otherwise, only 5 changes to the cabinet, and they'll be sworn in by His Majesty the King tomorrow. Okay, so going into some of the details about the verdict on the Swiss man and this incident that happened back in March that has taken, well, perhaps far more social media space than it deserved. But let's go through some of the findings of the case. And this has been reported by nationthailand.com. The Phuket Provincial Court said it found a lot of discrepancies in the prosecution testimony, footage from security cameras and evidence when it acquitted a Swiss businessman of assault charges. And the prosecutors charged that Fehr had physically assaulted Dr. Thandau by kicking her once in the upper back, causing bruising. And Dr. Thandau, meanwhile, alleged that Fehr's action had caused her to suffer from PTSD. And in its ruling, the court said Thandau's account given to police investigators and to the court contradicted the security camera footage presented in court. And the court noted that if Fehr had really kicked Dr. Thandau in the back as charged, then her friend Supakan Sukau, who was sitting next to her on the steps, should have witnessed the incident. The court said Supakan should have been able to provide a clear account of Fehr assaulting Thandau, but she failed to provide clear details. And the fact that Dr. Thandau's only witness failed to affirm how the assault happened is suspicious, according to the court. Moreover, the verdict said the CCTV footage does not show Fehr kicking Thandau until she fell forward as she testified to police. And the clip shows Dr. Thandau standing up and walking away from the spot normally. And the court said this contradicts Thandau's testimony. The court also noted that since the two did not know each other, that's Mr. Fehr and Dr. Thandau, Thandau should have been seen in the video clip arguing and demanding to know why Fehr assaulted her instead of just walking away. The court also noted that a police investigator's testimony said that Thandau was sitting on the second step and reasoned that it would have been tough for Fehr to kick the doctor from the top step as claimed. And in the verdict, the court said the medical evidence presented by the prosecution was just a photograph of the bruises on Thandau's back, adding that the plaintiffs failed to call the medical staff who took the photograph to testify. And there's plenty of other bits and pieces in that particular story from nationthailand.com. So if you'd like to read the full story, there's a link in the description of today's video. Hopefully that might be the last we report about that, although I think a lot of people would be interested to see if the Immigration Department reinstate his visa or if he ends up, not being able to get another visa. That I think would be the end of that story. Thanks for watching today. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and we do look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.